Peace and blessings, YouTube family. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday. Welcome to another edition from the Doctor's Corner. Wanted to certainly just briefly greet you and have a brief conversation with you today, family. Have you ever had a day where just felt like you were carrying around the entire world? You know, you have that day where you just getting out of the bed is a struggle. You ever had a day like that? You ever had a day where you're like, man, you're working hard to find your want to. You're working hard to find that level of energy, that level of oomph, to thrust through the day, and you never find it. Am I the only one who's ever experienced that? I got to tell you, family, I'm sure many to most of you know what that's like. As we talk about life be lifing, certainly I think most of us can relate to that when we consider, our duties at work or our duties in our businesses, our duties with our family, those of us who are caregivers, our duties there in that regard, and the plethora of responsibilities that we have. And so, how do you deal with those days, right? One of the earlier conversations, I premised the book by a brother talking about living well emotionally, right? And so, and one of the things he talked about in that book was the differences between men and women in terms of how they deal with stress. Specifically, he was talking about depression, right? And there being a difference between men and between women. And so, while that may be debatable, right, I do think that there are certainly we can agree that regardless of gender, as it relates to how we deal and adjust with stress and just the weight of just life, right? Certainly can take its toll. And so, what I would encourage each of you is, always check your temperature. I don't mean your body temperature. I don't mean with the thermometer in terms of sticking in your mouth, but I mean in terms of your emotional temperature. I would encourage you at all times, and that's why was the recurring theme on this channel has been about self care, and that will remain a recurring theme because I just sincerely believe that that is the most important part of our action and functions that we can do every single day in terms of taking care of ourselves, right? If we don't do the best in terms of taking care of ourselves, that certainly does not put us in the best position to take care of others. Certainly in the best way that we need to and that we should. So I'm encouraging you, family. Always check your temperature, check your emotional temperature. Having rough days, having hard days, having tough days, that's part of life, right? If you haven't experienced that yet, keep living, because I promise you, you will meet that aspect of life one day. Doesn't mean everything will be horrible, but just from a perspective of that day where you're just like, wow, staying in bed today would be real nice, right? Or going to get on your sofa with a book and and a blanket may appear to be extremely exciting, right? And but depending upon where you are in life, you may not be able to do that. You still got to push through and go to work and do all of the level of responsibilities that you have to do. So once again, I'm encouraging you, check your temperature, check your emotional temperature, because when you can, you detect first when you're not feeling it, when you just don't have, all the juices running what do they need. When you are in the front of that, when you're ahead of that, then that also empowers you where you can then know where you need to pull back, right? Where you know maybe not to engage, specifically to my family caregivers out there, right? Where you know, okay, today is going to be a tough day. If you got somebody that you can call to help you out, if you don't have, a professional nurse that you already have on staff, if you don't have that person, or if you don't have a spouse or a child, if there's anybody you can call in and maybe that you can tag in just for a little while, those moments where you gauge that, man, I'm just not feeling it today, and your emotional temperature is slightly off a little bit. If you can call someone in, just tag them in. Maybe if it's just briefly, right? Maybe it's just if they could just spare you for an hour. I would encourage you to do that, right? Because it's most important that we know and we gauge ourselves in terms of how we're feeling, what we're thinking. Because when we stay ahead of it, that puts us in the best position to be able to prevent those flare ups, prevent scenarios whereby maybe we say something or maybe we act out in a way that we'll be regretful later on, right? And then internally, what happens with that? It just revolves around to you now. That's just another thing added that makes you feel less than well. So with that, family, once again, we're going to always talk about self care. We're going to always talk about, what can we do to put ourselves in the best position to win. And even if that win means to be able to pull back for a moment, regroup, recalibrate, that's a win, right? Because then that prepares us to be able, for that next moment that we need to be our best selves. So, in any event, family, listen, not going to hold you long. Just wanted to share that with you. Hope everyone continues to have a great evening. And certainly until we talk again, peace, be well.